Good morning. I call this regular council meeting to order today, February 24th, 2026 at 9:04 a.m. We welcome each of you in chambers today and those of you observing online. At the request of Mayor Branco, I am chairing today's meeting as Deputy Mayor. Each councillor serves as Deputy Mayor for 2 months each year. Councillor Billingsley served in November, December. I had January, February. Councillor Wendy Hoyle is coming up for March and April. Yeah, we're in February now, March and April. Oh. I'd like to publicly thank Mayor Branco for his trust in me during his time away. I also thank my colleagues, fellow councillors, administration, and the public as you have supported and encouraged me as I've taken on more public-facing duties like chairing meetings while Mayor Branco has been away. I'd also like to thank God for giving me strength and wisdom beyond my own ability. I also thank my husband and daughter who have encouraged me and put up with more late nights and early mornings than usual. One sticky note done. Councillor Hoyle and Councillor Nielsen are participating virtually today. Welcome, I see them, and we've tested mics. I stated this last meeting, but we'll repeat it for clarity today. If a virtual participant loses connectivity during today's meeting, I may call a recess to allow time to resolve the issue. If the issue can't be resolved within 5 minutes, I will recall the meeting and the councillor will be deemed absent during the portion of the meeting they are unable to participate. Voting will continue to be indicated with raised hands. If I am uncertain of a participant's vote, I will pause and ask for confirmation. Again today, with multiple virtual attendees, it may take a few extra minutes when we transition between public and closed sessions. Seeing no one registered and no one present for the open mic session or section of our agenda, we'll move on to approval of the agenda. Upon review of the agenda, are there any additions or changes? Councillor Billingsley.
I move that City Council approves the February 24th, 2026 regular council meeting agenda as presented.
We're not pulling anything from consent? Oh, sure. Sorry. Thank you for the motion. Now discussion. Okay, I'd like to pull from consent 6.1, the CATS report, and 9.2, the CAO report. Anything else? Okay. Seeing none, the motion on the floor is that council approves the February 24th regular council meeting agenda as amended. All in favor? Thank you, carried. Next, we have the approval of the minutes. And upon review of the February 10th meeting minutes, are there any errors or omissions to note? Seeing none, seeking a motion to approve. Councillor Aberle.
I move that council adopts the regular council meeting minutes for February 10, 2026 as presented.
Any discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. It's carried. We're now in item 6 on the agenda, business arising from the minutes. Council action task summary. Go ahead.
There are still items on the consent agenda that need to be approved that weren't pulled.
Yes, that's 6.1.
Oh, I have it as 5.
That's- Oh, sorry, I thought we'd deal with the consent agenda when we approved the agenda of the meeting. That's why I pulled those 2 items.
But there's still, sorry, which one? Correspondence.
Oh, 11 and 13?
Yes.
Okay, so we still approve as
Right.
amended?
Yeah.
Okay, Thank you. Then I'm seeking a motion to approve the consent agenda. Councillor Aberle.
I move that council approves the consent agenda as amended.
Discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Now we're done with 5.1. Now 6.1. Business arising from the minutes, which was the council action task summary. I pulled it. I have one question. Billingsley, Councillor Billingsley, go ahead.
I move that City Council accepts Council Action Task Summary Report of February 12, 2026 as information.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay. I have one comment. When I read this, I believe that at last meeting regarding the mural report, we had asked that it stay on this because it has not been actually completed, and I don't see it on here.
Through the chair to council, the mural report was transferred to the capital and operating projects update, so it'll stay on there until it's completed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let me just. So can you repeat which one is it going to be on? Capital?
Yeah, it's in the city manager's monthly report in the capital and operating projects list.
Thank you. Councillor Hoyle?
Hi, good morning. I do have a question, and it is about, it's dated May 26, 2025, and it was about council-directed administration to work with Louis Bull administration to set an update to bring both councils together, and finish date was January 31st. Can I get an idea of where that sits right now?
Through the chair to Councillor Hoyle, there has been several attempts from our intergov department to try and reach out unsuccessfully, so we were going to attempt one more time and then close this out.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, the motion on the floor is that council accepts the action task summary report as information. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Carried. Today we have no public hearings or delegations, so we're moving on to section 9 of our agenda. Staff reports for information. First staff report is the 2025 Planning and Development Statistics Report. Please go ahead. Thank you for coming.
Good morning, Deputy Mayor and members of Council. My name's Emily Sangster, Manager of Planning and Development, and I'm here today to provide an overview of development activity in the city in 2025. Last year, Planning and Development approved 154 development and sign permits and 126 building permits. These are broken down into commercial, industrial, institutional, and residential categories in attachment 1 to the public RFD.
Can I ask that you speak a little closer to the mic?
Oh, is that better?
Probably. I was struggling to hear you.
Is it on now?
I think so.
Okay. Would you like me to back up and start again so everyone
Carry
can
on,
hear?
please.
Okay.
Thank you.
So they're broken down in attachment 1 to the RFD by both number of permits and project value. I wanted to today highlight a few observations, starting with my usual note that our project values can vary widely in each category each year, as the city is relatively small and any one project can significantly impact our statistics. So the total project value of approved permits was $13.2 million last year, down from $18.5 million in 2024. The 5-year cumulative total project value was also down to $77.7 million from $83.3 million in 2024. Residential project values, however, are up, which likely reflects the 14 new homes under construction as a result of the 2025 residential development incentive. The 154 development permits also included 58 temporary portable sign permits and 11 permits for permanent business signage, with the remaining 85 covering a range of other projects. The value of commercial permits at $5.2 million was in line with the past 5 years after a high last year. Notable development and redevelopment projects took place downtown and at the Wetaskiwin Mall. The value of industrial permits remained relatively low at about $705,000, with the most significant projects consisting of roofing and airport security suites. Institutional project values at $1.3 million were relatively low, with the notable exception of the spray park and playground installed next to the Manlook Center last year with the leadership and extensive support of community members. The total value of residential permits at $5.9 million was the highest since 2020, which saw the construction of a new apartment building in the city. Projects included a significant number of solar panel projects, 38, of which 11 were facilitated by this year's donor-funded solar installation grant. Permits were issued for 14 new homes, as noted. Other permits were largely for accessory structures, decks, renovations, home-based businesses, and some demolitions of older homes and accessory buildings. Our approval timelines are overwhelmingly within our legislated timelines, and we expect to be able to further streamline our processes and our timelines with the implementation of a new online application management platform through CityWorks in 2026. I also wanted to note a few other department activities in 2025. We approved 158 new business licenses, of which 69 were for locations in Wetaskiwin, either storefront or home. 47 were for businesses coming to do business in Wetaskiwin from outside the city. 39 were for individual mobile vendors, and 3 were organizations taking advantage of our new special event vendors license to cover multiple retail vendors in one go. Last year, we processed 2 land use bylaw amendment applications. Land use bylaw FAQ topics this year included regulation of relocated dwellings, cannabis retail, intermodal containers or CCANs, and parking requirements. We also processed 9 land subdivision applications, of which 5 have been approved, 2 were deemed refused after they timed out incomplete, and 2 are still in progress. We administered the donor-funded solar installation grant for a second consecutive year, and we kicked off the Special Study Area Statutory Planning Project to prepare a more comprehensive development framework for the area northeast of the airport. And with that summary, I'd be happy to answer any questions on our activities.
First, I'll seek a motion. Councillor Aberle.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor White. I move that Council accepts the development statistics reports for 2025 as information.
Thank you.
Then I just have one comment.
Go ahead.
I was really excited last year when you introduced the special vendor's license to cover multiple retails, and so I just want to thank you again. Even though it was only 3, I know at least one of those, it really helped our group a lot to just be able to do that and have more vendors. So it was at the Arts Music Festival, so thank you very much. It has made an impact.
Thank you.
I see Councillor Nielsen.
No, nothing here, Madam Chair.
Oh, sorry, I thought I saw your hand. Okay, Councillor Billingsley.
Thank you. Through the chair to, at least my comment would be to Emily and then maybe a question to administration. You talked about 14 new builds, which is obviously up because we have 5.9 million in residential builds, which is definitely above the 5-year average. My question is, are any of these, is 14 going to be the total amount for 2025? And my question is that subscription ends when? Like, in other words, when, because we had budgeted for 20, set aside for 20, when does that offer expire?
Through the chair to council, that budget, as far as I understand, was approved just for 2025, but we will be coming back to the next council meeting with an update on that particular grant program and also next steps for 2026.
And I guess then that would be my question going forward, is to ask administration, I mean, on the surface it sort of looks like it worked. My question is, did it work? And I guess we can, if it comes back, then we can have that conversation at that time. So thank you.
Okay. Councillor Nielsen, just one more time. I see your electronic hand and want to make sure you're not trying to get my attention to speak.
No, my electronic hand doesn't appear to be up, sorry.
Okay. I trust you, but I might ask again since I can still see it. Thank you. It's all good. Actually, I have a question then. Can you please describe the difference between the three different kinds of building permits, commercial, industrial, and institutional? Can you give me some examples? What's an institutional one? What's the difference between commercial and industrial?
Through the chair to council, commercial is what you would generally think of as sort of a storefront business. So say something along 56th Street that is maybe a retail store or an office of some type. Industrial is more what you might find kind of further south in the city, in the industrial area, so warehouses, shipping, manufacturing, those types of things that kind of produce or transport. And institutional is, I'm trying to think of a good way to explain it, but sort of public and community services essentially. So something like a school, a community center, a library, all those would be considered institutional uses, a hospital as well.
Okay, thank you. And I had another question on some your frequently asked questions. One of the items you named was questions come regarding relocated dwellings. Tell me more about that.
Absolutely. Through the chair to council, for the first time this year, we had a number of inquiries regarding whether someone can take in all these cases they were dwellings that were previously built outside the city, to transport them and place them on a lot in Wetaskiwin. Currently, that is not permitted under our land use bylaw, so it's something that we have added to our list to kind of look at and evaluate as part of our comprehensive land use bylaw update. But relocating dwellings is essentially putting them on a truck, moving them onto a lot, and placing them there on a foundation.
Okay. Can I ask a little bit more about them, just because I'm curious and I'm trying to picture what that is? Is this about old farmhouses that are taken off their foundation and moved in? Is it prefabricated homes? Is it mobile homes, trailers? Like what is a relocated dwelling?
Through the chair to council, we have actually slightly different regulations for both mobile homes, which are sort of designed to be moved on their own wheels and placed on a lot, and also modular homes, which are constructed in parts in a factory and then assembled on site. When we're talking about relocated dwellings, we're talking about something closer to what you described of, say, a farmhouse or another previously existing house that was built, sort of stick-built on a site, and then the applicant wanted to pick them up and move them into Wetaskiwin.
Thank you. Can you tell me more about inquiries that come around parking requirements? What kinds of questions are we getting? What kind of inquiries come around?
Through the chair to council, in the land use bylaw, we have a very detailed table that sets out generally minimum parking requirements for different kinds of uses that might be developed in Wetaskiwin. For example, a retail store might require a certain number of parking spaces per area of the building, for example. Those are also on our list to review as part of our comprehensive update, just because we find that often, especially in central areas of the city, they're quite high and they can be difficult for applicants to meet without having to constrain either the size of their building or the accesses or some of the open space they might have on the site.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine. And I think I'll ask this question to you. The last bullet point was related to the special area study around northeast of the airport. Can you explain what next steps are and what further opportunities for input the community will have?
Through the chair to
Or
council.
currently has, sorry.
Yep. Through the chair to council, there will be a mid-project update coming on that project at the next meeting as well, but I can briefly say that the first round of public engagement on that project has concluded. We are taking the feedback that has been received. We will be developing a more detailed land use plan for the area, and then that will go back to the public in the spring for future engagement and opportunities for comment. And we'll have more detail on that at the next meeting as well.
Okay, is the survey still open?
Through the chair to council, it has closed.
The survey has closed. Are the results of that survey up or published?
They will be.
Will be.
Yeah.
Okay.
The survey closed 2 days ago, so we're just going through them right now.
Okay. And when it's published, will that be, where will that be?
Through the chair to council, the project website is always available, and it's at, it can be accessed through whatifwetaskiwin.com.
What if Wetaskiwin? Thank you. That's where I was trying to get to. Any further discussion? Thanks for entertaining my questions. Okay, seeing none, I call the question that council accepts development statistics report for 2025 as information. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. 9.1, 9.2. Monthly city manager report to council and the community. Sue, can you please report?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The city manager monthly report updates a bunch of operational and community events that are happening, and we also attach the capital and operating project updates for council and the public. This past month and into February, priorities within the organization include performance reviews for all employees right now. We are also wrapping up council strategic goals that we are hoping to have brought back in late March for approval if there's no other major changes, and that is going to allow for us to continue with the corporate business plan that will set out the next 4 years for council and administration work. We currently have no vacancies. There are a couple of positions that we're just wrapping up interviews for right now or finalizing those, other than the evergreen ones with firefighters and lifeguards that are ongoing all year. I was going to speak about the area structure plan, but Emily did a good job of updating that. Again, the information is on What If Wetaskiwin, and we will be bringing back more information for council and the public in the future. And I wanted to highlight again that the city's new website is up and running. There is a function on there for virtual city hall where people can go in and look at their bills and pay their utility and taxation accounts. We've received a lot of really good feedback so far from the public and council and staff who are on the website looking for information. We are still updating stuff, so if people do see policies or bylaws that are missing, just let us know and we'll make sure that we're getting everything transferred over. We've kind of triaged and prioritized the pieces that were still on the old website to move over, but we're working through that quickly. The other attachment that is in the report is related to operating and capital projects that council had asked for. It's my understanding from questions that arose yesterday that some of the projects on here may not have been intended to carry forward, and so we're happy to answer any questions for council, but we'll probably be updating this and sending out an updated one to council right away, and then next month's updated report will have the most current information, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about capital or operating projects as well.
Okay, I'll open discussion by seeking a motion to open it. Councillor Billingsley?
Thank you. I move that City Council receive the City Manager report as information.
Thank you. Opening discussion. Councillor, I think I saw Nielsen first.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. A couple of questions through the chair to City Manager Howard. Sue, I'm wondering, under the topic of capital and operating updates, operations, infrastructure services, I see here HVAC and multiplex, and this was an original 2022 budget item, and it says the work is being vetted. What does that mean, it's being vetted?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Chairman. It's Ryan Anders here, General Manager of Operations and Infrastructure. Just to clarify, we are preparing an RFP, so a request for proposals that will be going out shortly. So the vetted terminology is we're working on identifying those priorities and building an RFP to complete this work this year.
Okay, thank you for that response. So if this was a budgeted item from 2022, why are we doing an RFP basically 4 years later?
Yeah,
What's been the holdup?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor, through you again. This has been an effort to prioritize these locations and issues, and so at this time we have finalized that list of priorities, and we will be working towards their resolution.
Thank you. If I may, Madam Chairman,
Carry on.
under the topic of community and protective services, a similar question. It states RCMP, fire station, airport, multiplex, city hall, co-op place, all budgeted about $1 million in 2024. It says the work is being planned for 2026. So first question is, have any of these particular projects had an RFP or gone out to tender?
Madam Deputy Mayor, through you again, Ryan Anders here. Looking at these projects, as Ms. Howard alluded to, are going to be updated and have been uncommitted for this year, as much of this work that was planned has been completed or will be reprioritized and brought back forward again at a future date.
And maybe this is an unfair question, but I'll try and see if there's an answer for it. I indicated there's almost $1 million of work there. Ryan, do you have any idea what has been expended on these projects out of that total at this point?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Nielsen, for that. We can verify that work that has been completed. There has been a significant amount, but I don't have that number in front of me. If you'd like, we can get that to you.
Well, before saying yes to that, I want to just clarify again, what is your timeline for getting back to us on the kinds of things that CAO Howard indicated would be updated? Like when are we going to see that actual updating? Because that could well answer all my questions.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Nielsen. Again, we were looking to work with finance here and have that updated for next week.
Sorry, next week or next meeting?
Next week.
Thank you.
So with that information in hand, I would accept your generous offer to have that sent out to us once it's completed, so we would have it prior to the next council meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Councillor Hoyle.
Good morning. Through the chair to admin, I'm looking for clarification for a couple things, or information, I guess I should say. Under priorities, performance reviews are occurring. Can you explain to me what is not the process, but who reviews which employees? Like, is our CEO responsible for that? Is it the senior leadership team? Who is responsible for those reviews of those employees?
Through the chair to Councillor Hoyle, these are just your typical performance evaluations. So every employee's direct supervisor will conduct those reviews, and then once that level of review is done, they get bumped up to subsequent managerial levels for review, and then finally at the end the city manager does get a rolled up version to approve.
Okay, thank you. And then secondly, wrapping up security audit, can I also have an explanation of what that actually is and who does it?
Through the chair to Councillor Hoyle, the the security audit is a audit of our technology infrastructure, so our digital security system. So we are just finishing up the last little bit. So far, we've received very good scores, and that is done through our IT team.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Councillor Billingsley, had I seen your hand? Thank you.
Through the chair to administration. First of all, thank you very much for the new report on the operating. It's good to see it. It helps for sure. So I appreciate that. Question I had most of them have been asked, but one of them has to do with the spray park. When will we know? Last term, we backstop up to $500,000 for the playground. When will we know exactly the amount that the city is going to be responsible for such playground?
Through the chair to Councillor Billingsley, we are working with the Spray Park Committee and our recreation group right now to finalize a report coming to council. We're still hopeful that it will come in March, but it might be April, and that report will wrap up the entire project, and we will also have a financial accounting of where everything lands with what was fundraised for versus what the city had put out. So we'll have all of that when that final report comes, hopefully in the next month or two.
Okay, thank you. Following up on more of a comment on the tax forfeiture that says that the work is continuous. More of a comment. Years ago, this was an issue, that we had millions of dollars in back taxes owing. I guess my question is this still a priority of finance to keep this in better shape?
Through the chair to Councillor Billingsley, it is. It's worked into their process manuals now. It is a long process. I know it frustrates council sometimes that we have to, it's a full 3-year cycle before we can actually get it in front of council for a tax sale. So a lot of times it seems like nothing's happening, but it is a part of our annual duties now.
Okay, thank you. And finally, Councillor Hoyle asked most of the questions I had about the employee reviews. It states that all employees are evaluated once a year. Is that true?
Through the chair to Councillor Billingsley, yes, that's true.
And we talked about who does them. What's the time frame? Like, is it all done within a 6-week period, or is it scattered throughout the year?
Through the chair to Councillor Billingsley, we typically open the reviews in late December, and then around this time they are to be completed. So we do use the reviews to drive merit increases, and those are in place at the beginning of April. So within the next 2 weeks, we'll be completing them.
Thank you. I'm good.
Okay. Any other discussion before I start my questions? Okay. Thank you for the thoughtful questions, fellow councillors. Covered lots of mine, but I have a couple. CAO Howard, you said around vacancies that there's a couple positions currently being interviewed for, but so that you didn't name them as current vacancies. I'd like an update on the position that council approved in the budget for the Community Safety and Wellbeing Coordinator. Has that been filled?
Through the chair to council. Excuse me, that's correct. The Community Safety Wellbeing Steering Committee has met a number of times, and we developed a job description and went through our People and Culture department and have that ad posted as of, I believe it was Thursday last week. So we have it ongoing right now.
And when does that close?
The original closing date is, I believe, March 2nd, or that first Monday in March. We met yesterday as a steering committee, and we're thinking of extending that another week.
Okay, thank you. Echoing Billingsley's comment, I really appreciate getting to see the capital and operating project report. And I appreciate that it's going to be updated better in the next week or so. Not asking for it next week, but by the next time we get this, can there be target completion dates in here? Like, it's a struggle for me to look at things that they were budgeted in 22, 24, 25, and not know when were they a 5-year project or were they a 1-year project that should have been done 4 years ago? That just the initial year isn't enough information for me. Let me look through my notes because a bunch of these have been captured. Under operations and infrastructure services, a multiplex with a projects planned for 2026, and it was initial budget in 2022. It's not a huge budget. There's been a little bit of spending on it. Can someone tell me what the projects are or the project is that is that line? It just says multiplex, and I'm not even 100% sure what building is multiplex. Does that mean the pool building?
Through the chair to council, while Ryan gathers up all that information, I'll just make one comment. The multiplex is where the curling facility is and the
Okay.
arts facility.
Curling and gymnastics.
Right.
Okay.
But
And
part of the reason, and I realize this is no excuse, but the reason that some of these projects have carried on is that facilities manager position has turned over several times in the last 5 years, and so we really have lost a lot of momentum in that area. They're stable now, and Chris has been going through and reprioritizing everything. So those projects were meant to be done, but we have been had been struggling in that area, keeping a manager there. So I don't anticipate that problem to continue forward.
Thank you.
Yeah, Madam Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Howard. That does clarify for us and helps us get our work completed. So we have identified a fire alarm panel and emergency lighting replacement, and quotes are currently out, and we're getting them back, and they are anticipated to be completed this year.
Thank you. Can I have an update or further information on, it says Manluck Center upgrades budgeted in 2025 for 470,000. I'm pretty sure there was some, this is capital, more things, well, it was by budgeted in 2025, is that what was passed last October, like just before this council came into being? Is that where that 470 was budgeted?
Through the chair to council, anything that has a 2025 year budget would have been approved at the end of 2024.
Okay. And was there more approved in 2025, in October of 25, related to Manluck Center upgrades?
There is.
thought so.
There's also, besides the fact that we have an annual maintenance shutdown, we also have a facility life cycle assessment report that has outlined capital projects for the next 20 years. So there will be money every year being requested for this facility.
Okay. Could I ask that there be just a little bit more description on a couple of these that some of us have asked for, whether it was the Manluck Center or the multiplex, just a little bit more info so that I know what projects are being reported on? Question on storm lift station, bottom line under municipal services on the capital side. My question is, where is this? On hold until the area structure plan is complete. Is this related to the northeast of the airport?
Through the chair to council. So this project, was put on hold because it is just on the, I guess, north end of 62nd Street, just straight north of the airport. So it is on hold until we get that area structure plan completed, and we'll have more detailed information on what the storm network would look like.
Okay. Still in the capital side, replacement of entrance signs, 5 in total. Design being vetted. I wondered who's doing that? Who's doing the vetting on the entrance signs, designs?
Madam Deputy Mayor, through you, the signs are currently being developed. We're going to The plan currently, going forward, is to create 3 options that we will bring back to the senior leadership team, and then bring council 2 options, and that graphic designer is who is being prepared. So we have procured the graphic designer. They're currently working on options, which we will be vetting and bringing back towards for council for actual final decision.
Okay. Last item in capital, apron 2 rehab. What building is this related to? Is this airport something?
Through the chair to council, so apron 2 is at the airport, so it's the north apron out there, and so the tendering process has begun and construction is scheduled to be completed by the end of the fall.
Can you describe it for me a little bit, since this is new information for me? We probably won't always ask so many questions, but thank you for bearing with us.
No problem. So an apron is basically a large concrete pad that the airplanes will go from their hangars. They'll taxi on that apron out to the taxiway and to the runway. So that this is being reconstructed because it is failing.
Does reconstructed mean torn out and put in new, or does it just mean like sealed or lifted, or what does rehab mean?
Through the chair to council, this is removing the apron and replacing it, redoing the base, replacing the concrete, adding better drainage.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Operating. An acronym that I need a reminder of. ERP implementation. To me, ERP says emergency response plan, but what's ERP? I know it's not that.
To the chair, that is our software that will be replacing our financial software. So this is the work to get a consultant in to determine what our needs are.
What does ERP stand for? I need to get it in my brain.
It should be Enterprise Resource Planning.
Yeah. Slight follow-up, and I'm going to ask not for an answer right today because I'll give you a chance to compile it. But similar to Councillor Nielsen's query on the nearly $1 million worth of work on a variety of our facilities, being RCMP building, fire station, airport building, multiplex facility, city hall, co-op place, all in 24. What is that work? Can that be it just says facilities, so work plan for 2026. In the next, when we get the update, can I please have an explanation of short summary of what the work is at each of those locations? Thank you. Next question. Conditional assessment of water sewer lines underground at City Hall. The comment says, initial reviews with Aquaterra completed. My question, and this says it was initial budget in 2024. What's the next step? What are we, like, what's the next thing to anticipate related to that?
To the chair, I'm taking this just because it was previously within my portfolio. So this project originally came forward to understand what those lines actually looked like. We suspect they could be cast iron, they could be clay, but we really don't have an idea. So this is a project to have an assessment of where they are, and the next steps after this would be to bring forward any charters for remediation.
Say the last part again.
To the chair. So the work will be done. We'll understand what the state of things are, and then pending the state of things, we will bring forward further charters for remediation.
Okay.
So if they need to be replaced, etc.
Can you tell me then what initial reviews with Aquaterra complete means? What part has been completed?
Through the chair to council, Aquaterra was pulled in I think it was last year or maybe even the year before, to camera the lines and have a consultation about the as-built drawings and what the utility side knows about our services to the building.
And was an evaluation made, then that's what we know, that's how we know what next steps are going to be? Or is there some further evaluation going to happen? Is further evaluation the next step, or is remediation of some sort the next step? And you can bring that back if you don't have the answer this minute.
I think the remediation is the next step, but there's a lot of times when we get down there and we find other things have happened, or the scope has expanded, and so that's, I think, what Jackie means by if that happens, we'll be bringing that back.
Okay. I'll await further info on that. I did want to bring up the library painting. I realized that it's scheduled, and I wanted to say thank you for getting that underway. I believe closures are going to be just after spring break. I wanted to make note of that. I've seen activity on that one. Under municipal services, there's a blue line that says special study area statutory plan. Is that supposed to be the structure plan, and is that related to the airport? Is it just a typo, or is there something different that I should know about?
Through the chair to council. So when we say statutory plan, that is kind of the legal jargon, I suppose, of what this is. So the special study area will be an area structure plan, but the statutory plan is what it's underneath in the MGA.
Okay, it's the same thing then.
It
it's
is.
not a separate
No.
thing. Okay, thank you. Last item is Clean Energy Improvement Program City Contribution from 2020, budgeted in 2024 for $767,000. Project is underway and will last till the comments got cut off. Can I have an update on what that is? Sorry, it must have been a previous council thing. I honestly don't know what this is about.
Yeah, I apologize for that being cut off. Through the chair to council, the Clean Energy Improvement Program was initiated 2 years ago, and the city became involved in that. It's run under Alberta municipalities, and the city's portion is an FCM grant. So council had directed us to set up the program, which we've done through AB Munis, and apply for the grant, which we've also received. The program is administered under provincial regulations through AB Munis, and we're just a member of that. So it does allow our residents, we did not include businesses, but only residential housing, to apply for the solar grants and that sort of stuff. So it's something that's ongoing until council tells us otherwise.
And is the grant, sorry, then a follow-up question. Is the grant this $770,000?
Yes.
So that's not funded at all through reserves or taxation?
No.
Directly in Wetaskiwin, I should say?
It's not. And as a matter of fact, we're able to apply an administrative fee to cover the costs of the time that staff spend on this.
Okay. I look forward to the update. I see more hands that have come up, so further questions. Councillor Hoyle.
Sorry. Thank you. I did have one more question that I missed. Under Community and Protective Services, we approved a 2-year position for another CPO, but I see that it says an internal CPO was transferred into the new position starting in February. So what does that mean? So we didn't have an extra CPO by my understanding of that. So where is that sitting and what does that mean?
Through the council, or through the chair to council, the internal candidate decided, we discussed it some time, and we decided that it was best to get this program up and running quicker. So an internal candidate transferred over to that position, and we're currently in the interview stage of a general duty CPO to backfill that position. General duty CPO is easier to train and do other tasks, where this specific position is dedicated to do just 2 tasks, traffic and work with planning and development.
Perfect. Thank you for that explanation.
Councillor Nielsen? You're on mute if you're trying to talk.
My goodness, I muted myself. That's amazing. No, just in relation to some comments that you'd made earlier relative to some requests for information on the capital and operating update. And so my question would be, through the chair to city manager, I guess. It's my understanding, Sue, that when that motion was put forward, I put forward the motion to have this report generated as a separate type of document to track what was going on. And council at that time identified a number of, I guess, stipulations to be included, such as the RFP date, the tendering date, when the tender was let, progress in the work and completion, and so forth. Am I correct in that direction, Sue?
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, you are. It was actually a discussion that I wanted to bring potentially to P&T, just because some former direction around budget approval was different than what we got. And so I would like to have a discussion with council to make sure we understand fully what is expected. And then we will make sure that when it comes into the clear point reporting, which we're anticipating in the next month or two, that it should be it should cover all of the questions or items that council wanted to see.
Right, thank you. And so I guess my point was that as we've had discussions here, we've started asking for other items to be included and so forth. And my only comment was that's a direction of council and not of individual councillors asking to have more information presented. So the fact that it's coming back to P&T would afford all councillors an opportunity to add other conditions or items to that direction. Would that be correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much. I stand down.
Thank you, Councillor Nielsen. I have one more question that I missed on my first go through of these. Additional storm sewer maintenance says it's in progress, should be completed by May 26. One catch basin to repair. I kind of remember we've talked about this before. Target budget of 140, spent to date 173. So we've spent more than what we budgeted for. Where does the additional money come from? And when was the overage approved? Help me understand.
Through the chair to council, so that's actually an error in the funding. I was speaking with finance last Friday, and they had an error. So council approved the motion for the additional storm sewer maintenance of $140,000 mid-year in 2025. So that still sits in the same general ledger as the regular storm maintenance budget. So when all those numbers get added together, it goes to the $170,000. But really, this project is still under budget. The remaining is actually still just additional projects that happen throughout the city. And so this, we will correct the number reflecting in this report for the next time it goes in front of council.
Okay, thank you. I can follow that. Any further discussion? Okay. Seeing none, the motion on the floor is that council receive the city manager report as information. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next in the agenda, staff reports for decision. Can we have the presentation for the safety codes fee policy update? Big day for you today. 2 presentations.
morning, members of council. So this RFD is to request consideration of proposed amendments to policy CO-026, safety codes policy. This policy was approved in 2007, last updated in 2014, and this policy are partly administered by the municipality and partly directly by our provider. As an accredited municipality, the city is responsible for safety codes and has contracted out the majority of service provision, including permit administration, inspection, and initial enforcement, to a contracted accredited agency. An amended version of the policy is found in Attachment 1 to the RFD, and a red line version that sets out the proposed amendments is provided in Attachment 2. And so in general, these amendments are intended to update the list of definitions to make sure that they reflect all the relevant terms, update conditions and documentation requirements to reflect our current practices, update references to repealed bylaws and other terminology, remove references to specific fee amounts that are more appropriate to list in the fees and charges bylaw that is reviewed annually, and to correct typos, inconsistent language, and omissions. When the policy is presented for approval at a future council meeting, it would be accompanied by an amendment to the fees and charges bylaw to move the fee amounts out of this policy and into the bylaw. And it would be accompanied in future by proposed amendments to the land use bylaw to account for the more appropriate location for development charges as well. With that summary, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, seeking a motion. Councillor Aberle?
I move that council directs administration to bring safety codes fee policy CO-26 to the March 10, 2026 regular council meeting for approval as presented or amended, because there might be.
Because we don't know yet.
Yeah.
Thank you. Discussion? Questions? Okay, I'll start. Can I please get an explanation of, in the policy statement, there's the phrase, the city's responsibilities as an accredited municipality. What does it mean that we are an accredited municipality?
Through the chair to council, safety codes responsibility are under provincial legislation through the Safety Codes Act, and the province can accredit municipalities to carry out those provincial responsibilities in their jurisdiction. So the city has an accreditation for building, electrical, plumbing, gas, and fire related safety codes. And then we are responsible to ensure that they are carried out.
Okay, I think I can put that together. You spoke a bit to the fees coming out of this and being in the fees and charges bylaw. I'm wondering if we need to update that bylaw at the same time that we update this. And what drives that question for me is in 3.13 and 3.2.3, where it says if work continues after a violation notice or an order has been given and no permit has been issued, the fee shall be tripled. When I looked through that fees and charges bylaw, I couldn't find any language around this kind of a charge being the tripled. I saw language around doubling, I saw language around percents. Is that in there or going to be in there?
Through the chair to council, yes, that's the intention. If this policy as presented or amended is brought back to a future council meeting for approval, at the same time there would be a proposed amendment to the fees and charges bylaw to make sure that these are reflected in that. Some of them are not there right now.
Perfect, so it'll come at the same time. Or the fees and bylaws will come at the same time.
That's right.
That's it of my questions. Any further questions from council? Okay, let's call the question that council directs administration to bring safety codes fee policy CO-026 to the March 10th regular council meeting for approval as presented or amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. We look forward to seeing this again. Next section in our meeting is bylaws. Can we have the presentation on bylaw 2104-26, amending land use bylaw? Amending land use bylaw. It seems like a theme.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Administration is recommending that council approve amendments to the land use bylaw.
Yep, come
Thank you.
closer, please.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is that better?
Yep, thanks.
Administration is recommending that council approve amendments to the land use bylaw to create a community support service use and specific use regulations. The land use bylaw does not currently have a use category or specific use regulations for social and community services provided by non-governmental organizations that do not fall under the existing health service, community recreation, or temporary shelter service uses. This results in ambiguity around the development and regulation of a wide range of service providers. Administration recommends a new community service use defined as a development that provides social, nonprofit, or community services. This use may include, but is not limited to, food banks, individual or group support services, community programs, and outreach services. This use does not include community recreation use, government service, health service, or temporary shelter service. This use is distinct from similar use from the similar uses community recreation service, government service, health service, and temporary shelter service. Community support services are not social gathering places and do not provide recreational programming as a primary activity. They are provided by nonprofit or community-based organizations, not by orders of government. They may provide group or individual counseling services and referral services, but they do not provide medical treatment. And they do not include the provision of shelter beds or space for clients to stay overnight. The types of developments that may be considered community support services include friendship centers that provide culturally relevant programs and services to Indigenous people and connect Indigenous and non-Indigenous communities, organizations that provide supportive programs to and services to a specific population, such as newcomers, people with disabilities, seniors, and so on. Drop-in centers providing immediate supports for basic needs to vulnerable people, food banks or soup kitchens, and organizations that provide programs and support services for children, youth, and families. Administration recommends 3 specific use regulations to provide a framework to address potential land use impacts of community support service developments. Number 1, community support services must provide on-premises outdoor space or supervised indoor space for persons waiting to access services to deter loitering in the neighborhood. Number 2, the development officer may consider parking and loading requirements appropriate to the nature of the service. Consideration would be based on anticipated patron and personnel vehicle traffic and the organization's vehicle fleet. And number 3, applications for community support services shall address the following considerations based on the specific operations and location of the proposed development. Application of crime prevention through environmental design principles in the site design, provision of pedestrian and vehicle access, and mitigation of potential impacts on adjacent properties through landscaping, buffering, and other design features. Community support service encompasses a range of possible developments with varying impacts. These provisions ensure that considerations such as parking needs, SEPTED, access, and impact mitigation are addressed at the application stage based on the specific needs and impacts of the proposed service. Administration recommends adding community support service as a discretionary use in the following districts: C1 downtown commercial, C2 general commercial, C3 highway commercial, DDO downtown district overlay, M1 light industrial, and US urban services. Currently, there are organizations operating long-term in C1, C2, C3, M1, and US zones that were approved under previous land use bylaws and would fall under the community support service definition. This demonstrates that these zones are suitable for community support service as a discretionary use. Administration also does not want to affect the operations and development potential of these existing organizations through this amendment. DDO Downtown District Overlay is also proposed as a suitable district due to its similarity to C1 Downtown Commercial in terms of allowed uses. In each case, community support service would be subject to the district's development regulations, including minimum setbacks, maximum height, and maximum lot coverage. And we can take any questions.
Thank you. Councillor Billingsley?
I move that council gives first reading to bylaw 2104-26.
Councillor Billingsley?
Thank you. Through the chair, In 16.2, it says the development officer. Can you define who in this case is the development officer?
Through the chair to Councillor Billingsley, the development officer is a specific role within administration in the municipality. So we have development officers that make decisions on development permits according to the land use bylaw, and they have delegated authority from the city manager as the development authority under the MGA.
Okay. So where I was going with this is, does council have the ability on 16.2 to decide these things that are within 16.2, where it talks about parking, it talks about traffic, and so on and so forth?
Through the chair to Councillor Billingsley, the short answer is no, because council's decision-making power is to set this framework that the development officer would then abide by.
Thank you. I'm okay for now.
Councillor Nielsen?
Thank you very much. Through the chair, I think Councillor Billingsley and I are on a bit of a same track here. I'd like to know what constitutes the development authority as opposed to the development officer. What is the development authority?
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, the development authority is, I guess, a role or an authority that is provided under the MGA, generally to, in our case, the city manager, who then delegates that authority formally to, or who may delegate that authority formally to other roles within the organization. And so the development authority, where it's referred to in the MGA, is the decision-making power regarding development. In our organization, that's delegated through the city manager to development officers and the manager of planning and development.
Thank you. So, to Councillor Billingsley's point then, because we've been in this conversation previously on another decision where council made some decisions on the land use bylaw and then wanted to have further discussions on them, and we're informed that we didn't have the authority because we were not the development authority. So once this thing gets passed, then what I'm hearing is council becomes mute to the operation.
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, in broad strokes, that is correct. There are, through this proposal, other, I guess, appeal or second thought mechanisms that are possible. In this case, we are proposing, recommending that community support service be approved as a discretionary use, which does offer a right of appeal for both the applicant on certain conditions of approval and also other affected parties. If that appeal were to go through, then there is a separate body called the Subdivision and Development Appeal Board that includes some representation from council and some representation from members of the public that would hear the appeal and render a decision on that.
Right. Now, you've indicated that there's potentially an appeal process for impacted or affected parties. Would council be considered an affected party if they had concerns about the operation of a community support service?
Emily, sorry, CAO Howard, please.
Thank you.
Step in.
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, I wanted to point out a couple of, I guess, differences between the two. So the original comment about council not being able to make a different decision, it's because the land was designated as direct control, and once it's direct control, it goes under the MGA, not the land use bylaw, so the process is different, and the appeal period is in the MGA is only 21 days. So there's a different process for direct control properties versus something that's approved by council in the land use bylaw. Council cannot appeal a decision of development through the land use bylaw because you've already set the rules around the development that occurs within that redistrict zone. But it does allow applicants who believe that that the rules were maybe looked at unfairly to go to that next process, which does include council as part of the appeal process, but no, council cannot be the one to appeal it, as you're the one that set the rule. But council does have the right to direct us to come back and make changes to any of the zoning that has been done as well.
Thank you. So then let me go down a different path then, in terms of direct control versus discretionary use. I'm going to use the word power. That's probably a wrong choice of words, but what power does council then have? No, I'll change it. Why is it being prescribed as a discretionary use?
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, setting aside direct control just for a moment, when administration development officers approve a development permit under the land use bylaw and the MGA, generally there could be a discretionary use or a permitted use. A permitted use is, as the name suggests, broadly permitted. If a development officer approves a permitted use, they must approve it provided it meets the land use bylaw, and also they have very limited scope to impose or to set conditions on the use other than what is specifically set out in the land use bylaw. A discretionary use, on the other hand, does not have to be approved if the development officer in their review feels that it doesn't quite meet the intent of the land use bylaw or is unsuitable in a particular location. A discretionary use also provides the development officer with more leeway to set conditions that they feel would be appropriate for that use to be compatible in that location. So administration is proposing community support service as a discretionary use because this use could include a lot of different components that are difficult to say that they are always appropriate and could be a permitted use throughout the zones. Because they are quite diverse, we do want to have the ability to set conditions that are specific to a particular application without being as constrained under the land use bylaw as we would be with a permitted use.
Thank you. So in short, the discretionary use gives the authority or the power to the development officer.
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, both permitted and discretionary uses give the decision-making authority to the development officer. If we are talking about direct control, that's slightly different because a direct control district is a district rather than a use. So it's a district similar to C3 highway commercial, DDO, downtown district overlay, those other zones we have. And a direct control district would apply to a particular property. And in that case, on a direct control property, rather than administration being the development authority, council is the development authority with the decision-making power on the specific development permit.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So now I'm gonna go down sort of the process here. So the motion's on the floor to give first reading. Then there would be a public hearing. We would ultimately go to second and third readings. Is that correct?
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, that's correct.
Okay. And along that process, if all of a sudden I'm struck with some great level of new insight and wanted to make amendments to this bylaw, I can make amendments up until it is passed. Is that correct? Let me ask you a different question. Can I make amendments after a public hearing?
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, yes. You can make amendments during the discussion of second or third reading.
Go ahead, Jacqueline.
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, for clarity, the time to make amendments to a bylaw is after first reading, but before third reading.
So potentially after the public hearing and the public input.
To the chair, that is correct.
Councillor Nielsen, does that address your question?
Yeah, it addresses that question. So what's being proposed here through this bylaw is the conditions like parking and no loitering and indoor space and so on. And if there are no other discussions and considerations of limitations or restrictions or conditions, I'll use the word conditions, then conditions cannot be imposed after the bylaw has been passed. More conditions cannot be added.
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, if the amendment is passed with the recommended specific use regulations, those are the regulations that will be in the land use bylaw. As a discretionary use, there is leeway for the development officer to apply conditions to a development permit that address specific characteristics of a particular development.
That can happen after the permit has been given to set up the organization.
Through the chair,
The
to
develop-
sorry.
So the development officer can add additions because it's a discretionary use after the bylaw has been passed.
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, so just to distinguish the bylaw being passed versus the development permit being issued, the development officer can apply conditions at the time of issuing the development permit, not after the development permit is issued. In terms of the three specific use regulations that we're proposing goes in the land use bylaw as factors that need to be considered in reviewing an application. Those will be, to add anything further to that would require another amendment to the bylaw if this amendment was approved.
Thank you. And my last comment, I guess, really is a comment to my colleagues around the table. And that is the conditions that have been identified in this document today by staff, and I'm not questioning the validity of them or anything of that nature, are the only conditions that we as councillors are agreeing to in this document. And I guess I just want to make sure that at the end of the day that we are comfortable with those conditions that have been set out, and there aren't any other conditions that we would be concerned about. I don't want to get caught in a situation where we say, gee, I wish we would have thought about this before. And so it's nothing more than commentary, and I sort of apologize for staying it. My last question then, Madam Chairman, is, and I know it's alluded to, how do we ensure or guarantee compliance with regard to, quote, it's not a social gathering space?
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, if I understand the intent of your question correctly, you would want to understand how we might follow up on, sorry, through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, might you be able to restate the question just so I ensure that I'm answering the correct one?
Sure. One of the conditions that has been identified in this policy is that a community support services organization, that it does not become a social gathering space. And so there's conditions that they have to have a reception area or an inside courtyard or something of that nature to ensure that it's not impacting other surrounding facilities. And so my question is, how do we ensure and guarantee compliance regarding that we don't have a social gathering space where there's not loitering outside the particular facility, potentially impacting traffic flow, possibly impacting other adjacent businesses or residents?
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, I hear two parts to your question that I'll just respond to one in turn. The first one being that one of the reasons for proposing community support service as a distinct use rather than having it fall under community recreation use is that social gathering is not a primary activity of the use. However, that does not mean that a community support service could not host social gatherings on the premises or within the building. With respect to the second part of the question regarding potentially, loitering in the neighborhood or like traffic to the building, we do also have our community standards bylaw that, regardless of provisions in the land use bylaw, can address community standards behaviors of concern. And so my understanding is that loitering as an activity is covered under the community standards bylaw.
And so I guess my question would be through the chair, and I said it was my last one, I'm sorry. Through the chair to perhaps Kevin then, if we have loitering or social gathering around this particular agency, organization, business, whatever you want to call it, is the loitering to the individual standing around the outside of the building, or is the loitering in relation to the operator of the community support services? Who gets spoken to or ticketed in relation to loitering outside a facility that we have said should not have loitering?
The folks being spoken to would be those loitering. If there is a persistent concern regarding loitering at a location, sort of problem solving might suggest that we would speak with the operator of that location to determine if there's another solution that we can come to.
Okay, so not hearing anything from anyone else, I guess they think you've covered the topic well. My gravest concern takes me back many years. And I know the intent of the organization is completely different, and I support the intent of what we're trying to do here. But we did have an organization that says, what happens inside my building is my business. What happens outside my building is your business as the city. And so I'm concerned that simply by putting the condition in place that it's not a social gathering space doesn't mean that that organization has any responsibility to ensure that it's not a social gathering space. That responsibility then falls to our bylaw enforcement agents to make sure that that doesn't happen. I'm wondering if there's any meat in the condition that's been put in this document that holds the organization accountable and not the city accountable for managing social gathering.
Through the chair to address Councillor Nielsen's concern raised, the specific use provision that administration is proposing for these types of uses does require the organization to provide an identified location where individuals waiting for services of the organization can wait. And so that could be, as noted, indoor space, such as a supervised waiting room, outdoor space on the premises that might include benches or another waiting area. It's important to note that on the premises does mean on the property of the organization. So a bench, for example, on a sidewalk would not meet that requirement. So that would be evaluated by the development officer at the time of approving the development permit, and the applicant would need to demonstrate how that condition is being met.
I'm sorry, Madam Chairman, I have one last question.
Oh,
I said that
really?
before. Yeah.
Okay.
So-
Please carry on.
So Emily, and again, I go back to process, and that is through the process, if this motion is passed, we have the public hearing. if through the public hearing we hear concerns that we haven't identified as a council, we can then make amendments, and or we can vote down second and third readings. Would that be correct?
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, that is correct.
Thank you very much for your time and your work on this. I do appreciate it.
Before I get to Councillor Hoyle, I saw Mr. Bamber's hand. Did you have something further you wanted to contribute to Councillor Nielsen's questions? Nope? Okay. Thank you. Councillor Hoyle.
Thank you, Councillor Nelson. You've asked and had answered a lot of my questions. I too, and I don't know if it's concerned, I guess I am concerned, or I think when we use terminology like may include, may consider, it leaves, not holes, but it leaves it up to discretion, I'm assuming, of the development officer. So I just want to bring that to light, that those are some of my concerns, because those words, and not that we can always be black and white, but they're very gray for me. And so when we look at some of that terminology, it does concern me. So I will wait to see what this document looks like further down the line and deal with it if I feel need be at that point. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councillor Elder.
So I like Councillor Nielsen. I have concerns here. So we have current issues with loitering on the south side at many businesses that we do not seem to be able to control. We don't maybe have enough bylaw. Maybe we don't have enough meat on the loitering. So is there a way that we could have in here that the business, if they do not follow this, there's a termination date, then that we don't, you know what, you're no longer allowed to be doing business here?
Go ahead, CAO Howard.
I just want to point out that if a business is not following the approved use, we could issue a stop work order. So I think the discussion around all of this is making sure that the definitions and the specific uses that are identified our council is comfortable with. And then if there is a violation of that, the avenue that we have is that they're not complying with their permit.
Okay, so would that apply to new and existing businesses as well?
Through the chair to Councillor Elder, in general, if we receive a development-related complaint, we do go back to the land use bylaw and any specific conditions on the permit for that use, and then determine whether we have a violation that we can enforce.
Okay, thank you.
Seeking further questions or debate? Okay, seeing none. The motion on the table is that council give first reading to bylaw 2104-26. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Seeing none opposed, this is carried. Seeking the follow-up motion?
I move that City Council direct administration to schedule a public hearing for bylaw 2104-26 on March 10th, 2026 at 9 a.m.
Any discussion? Seeing none, calling the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Carried. Next section of our agenda is the closed session. Thank you, ladies. The FOIP, Freedom of Information and Privacy Act, was replaced in 2025 with the Access to Information Act. In that act, or Section 29 in the new act, addresses exceptions to disclosure regarding advice and policy. So this part of the meeting is going to go into closed session based on Section 29. Section 29 of the Act is titled Advice from Officials, and the purpose of this section is to allow the head of a public body to not disclose information that could reasonably be expected to reveal advice, proposals, recommendations, analysis, or policy options developed by or for council. Today's topic in closed session 14.1 is an update to be provided to us on the Community Organization Property Tax Exemption Regulation. For short, it's referred to as COPTER. I'll read that acronym again. Community Organization Property Tax Exemption Regulation. So I'm seeking a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Councillor Billingsley. Going into closed session at 10:35. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Nielsen and Hoyle, join us in the other session, please. Okay, we're back in session. I'm looking for a motion to come out of closed session.
So moved.
Coming out of closed session at 11:42. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Councillor Elder, did I see your hand? I'm sorry.
No. Oh, I did, yeah.
You did, you're good.
Yeah,
Okay,
sorry.
carried unanimously. Next section of our agenda is new business. The first item is a notice of motion from Mayor Branco, who, because he's not in attendance today, I'm going to table his motion and have it brought back at the March 10th meeting. So moving on then to 15.2, which is Councillor Elder's motion. Councillor Elder.
Let me just pull it up here again, sorry. Got it written in here, and I didn't bring my copy.
We're on 15, sorry, on 15.2, were you able to actually get a copy of the agenda? So you know that we're at the 15.2?
Well, yeah, and I'd given it to them, and I just forgot to bring mine, so.
Can it please be displayed on the screen? We're down to, I see us sitting at 2. We're in 15.2. Okay, there we go. Thank you.
Okay, let me see if I can read that here. Okay, so I'm going to move that the council discuss whether to retain or an independent third party to review the procedural circumstances and decision-making process related to the investigation that resulted in the restriction on the mayor's access to City Hall for the purpose of governance assurance, only that administration prepare a report to bring back for council's consideration. I've got some comments, if I can, about this.
Go ahead.
So, first of all, like I've tried on a couple of occasions to revisit this decision, but was unsuccessful. And for me personally, I was wrong in the decision I made. I can't speak for anyone else. We have a policy in place made by previous council that states we cannot revisit any decision made after a motion has been passed for 6 months. To me, that says I would like to look at changing this policy. We're just humans, and we're just councillors, and sometimes we make mistakes, and when we make mistakes, I don't think, or possible wrong decisions, I guess I shouldn't say mistake, I don't think we should have to wait 6 months to revisit something. That's just not good business for me. I also believe that this should have been investigated by a third party, not our CAO. This should have been done to avoid any possible bias in the investigation.
I think we should go into closed session.
Why is that? Just let me finish my statements, and then if, like, I'm not going to talk any personal information here.
You just did.
Why did I just do?
Okay, point of order. Closed session's been called. I'll honor that question. All in favor of going into closed session? Okay, we are back with our virtual attendance, seeking a motion to come out of closed session
I move that we come out of closed session.
at 12:30.
Yes, and I'd like to speak to that.
Okay.
The reason why I went into closed session is I had some concerns of confidential information being discussed in the private setting. When the time is right and if able, conversation will be made public, but I didn't feel at this point we would be protecting the organization from private information.
Okay. Motion on the floor is to come out of closed session. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We're out of
Aye.
closed session. Councillor Elder, you can continue.
Okay, so I'm going to continue. So I'm going to retract my comment regarding the CEO and the investigation. I was under the understanding that the CEO had done this investigation. I've now been informed that there was a third-party investigation done by two separate legal entities. So now I am prepared to withdraw the motion of a third-party investigation to be done.
Okay. Any further discussion? Thank you. That motion's been withdrawn.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Elder.
You're welcome.
Councillor Aberle, you have item 15.3, another notice of motion. Can you state your motion and speak to it?
Yes. So I'll be moving, or I move that council direct administration to develop a city-owned facilities use policy that clearly outlines, among other parameters, restrictions, if any, on the use of city-owned facilities. And I believe Denise is going to put it up on the screen for me. What will go on the screen is what I originally submitted, and it was slightly changed from my wording, and I just wanted it to put back to my wording because, well, just a couple things. And I'll say it quickly. This policy isn't meant to be restrictive. I did have somebody reach out to me, and it isn't necessarily meant to add more red tape or to do restrictions, which is why I wanted it to say if any, like if there would be restrictions rather than any restrictions. To me, that made a difference. I do think that we, as a council, speak through policy, and we speak through policy by the information we get from our residents as a representative government. And when we leave it for administration to make decisions on the cuff, and then people, or on the fly, and then people come to us, that's when it gets political. And I don't think that the use of our facilities should be necessarily political, in that people can come to council to get us to change things per one instance. And that is why I didn't like necessarily having to decide whether or not one group should or should not. And I had based my decision not only, but primarily on because at a point in time, another group was told by administration something different. Use was different, and I appreciate that, but it started to talk to that. So I would like this council to start to put that through, and it is maybe not even use. It is, I don't want to say fees, but what would be, if the property is damaged, what is appropriate? If, is it truly in policy somewhere that could read, what is the limit of the number of people that can be in the drill hall, as an example? So we can look through the fire code and look through all of that, but if it is specific in a policy before an agreement is signed, I want that agreement based on a council decision, not based on an administrative decision. Does that make sense? Okay, so, and then when I first put my notice of motion forward, I was asked if April was an okay time, and I'm good for that. I just don't have a date to add to my motion. First or second meeting, do we think? Second? And April 24, is that what I heard? So Denise, if you may add that to my motion and bring back to council for first reading.
Okay, first I'll deal with the request to amend your motion.
I'm still making the motion.
Oh, you're still making
Yeah.
it? Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you had made
Yeah,
it.
no, 100%.
Okay.
And I may have said things a little weirdly
That's
because I
okay.
had done the notice of motion, but I hadn't added the date. So I just wanted to, this is my official motion.
Okay. I'll let that stand. Any further comments, Councillor Aberle?
Oh,
No? Okay. Councillor Billingsley?
thank you. I think we need to be, how can I put this? I think we need to be, give direction a little bit more because obviously when the last group that came to us, that was brought to council deciding whether or not they could rent the facility, I'm not sure where this is going to go. In other words, are we going to allow political? Are we not going to allow political? And I think we, need, as a group, need to decide what that looks like, because if administration goes one way and that's not what this group thinks it should go, well, then they did all this work for no reason. I also, that would be the first part. But I also want to look at the rental agreement. We were presented a copy of the rental agreement, and I really think it's important that, and I know that this may or may not necessarily be our wheelhouse, but there was nothing on the application that talked about what the use of the facility was going to be for. And not because I want to say no because you're doing this, but I think it speaks more to, well, they are doing whatever, we're going to need extra security, or we're going to need, because at that point, we had no idea of exactly what's going on, and there may be things that they're offering or what they're doing there that the city needs to have extra security or whatever it may be, right? So I think that these are things that we're going to have to take a look at. Myself personally, as much as I was not in favor of the group that rented the drill hall, I totally feel that they had the right to rent the facility. And so for that reason, my direction would be not to ban political activities in the drill hall or any city facility.
So I'm hearing a suggestion of direction.
Yes.
Councillor Aberle?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor White, and through the chair to Councillor Billingsley. My intent was, in previous policies have come through, what administration does is look at general policies at other, that are commonly written in other municipalities. It really not reinventing the wheel, and that we would have that specific argument in April, because it gives people time to see that policy as it is written. I would agree to the no restrictions based on political ideologies. Yes, I would vote in favor of that. What I need is a clear example of it, but among other things. It just happened to come up because of that event, and I just didn't like the process that it went through. I think that that's what I'm trying to say. Any legal use of the building is what I would like to personally see. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Nielsen?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Having been through the last conversation, I was constantly reminded by many people in the community, people have a right to democratic voice and sharing their opinions. And I don't disagree in spite of the fact of the motion I brought forward. However, I think there's a couple of things at play here that need to be incorporated, as Councillor Billingsley said. Number one is that if we are going to rent a facility, I think there should be a policy that clearly states that those people who are renting the facility do not necessarily represent the views of the city or city council. And I think that needs to be a clear statement, because I think with a lack of that, there could be a perception that council is approving, not just approving, but in alignment with the political position that's being voiced in their facility. So that's one thing that I would certainly like to see as part of the conditions. And then, of course, anything that would be in violation of law. And beyond that, I would agree that we should not be restricting based on political ideology. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Okay, seeing none. I'll repeat the motion on the floor. Councillor Aberle moves that council direct administration to develop a city-owned facility use policy that clearly outlines, among other parameters, restrictions, if any, on the use of city-owned facilities, and bring it back to council's consideration at the April 28th, 2026 regular council meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. Item 15.4 is a notice of motion coming from Councillor Elder. This would be for the future meeting, so you can state your motion.
I can just state the motion right now.
Yep.
Okay, so this one here. I move that council confirm that the authorization for the CIO employment agreement will be provided by recorded resolution on council in open session prior to execution, consistent with the MGA.
Okay, thank you for that notice. It will come at the March 10th meeting. Okay. Seeing no further business, looking for a motion to adjourn. Thank you. We are adjourned at 12:43.